I dropped out of high school in my senior year to go work in a cannery in San Jose to help organize a union, which we did. And a strike was called, which was totally destroyed as a result of extraordinary police terror. Every meeting was broken up, every outdoor demonstration was attacked and broken up. And then I went to the Imperial Valley in 1934 to help organize the migratory lettuce pickers at that point. I was arrested and spent 180 days in the Imperial Valley Jail. And one of the ways in which I passed the time was teaching my fellow prisoners how to sing radical songs. The strikers were part of that generation of Mexicans who had grown up with the Mexican Revolution, so that both the strikers and then the women prisoners also knew the International in Spanish. It was just kind of an immediate means of communication, of identification across language barriers, across country barriers, this song that bridged all the countries of the world.
People everywhere were suffering from the Depression. There was real starvation everywhere in the world. In some countries, like in Germany, fascism began. It was ruled by brute military force, and based on this demagoguery, it was possible to achieve not only power within Germany, but strength within fascist elements all over the world. In Spain, they tried the same thing. The military called for the overthrow of the Republican government of Spain and staged a coup. And from over 40 countries, volunteers began to arrive in Spain. Men and women could come and pick up arms and fight the fascists, the first time that happened in the history of fascism. And in the United States, the cry went up, what about us? Why can't we go to Spain? There was no way I was going to stay out of this conflict in Spain. I saw action as an infantryman and was wounded in the course of it. And as a result of being wounded, wound up in a hospital at Mataró. In the hospital, what we did for entertainment, of course, was have entertainers come out and sing, and a couple do flamencos and things like that. One day when they ran out of entertainers and we had to fall back on our own resources, the chief of entertainment called on us all to come up on the stage one at a time and sing the International in whatever language was our own language. And well over 40 languages were represented on the stage. Each one would sing a few words in their own language and then go on to the next one, or we would have been there all night. And then finally everybody sang the song together in their own languages, so that we heard it sung in Javanese, and we heard it sung in Tamil, and we heard it sung in Hindi, in English, in French, in German, in Russian, in Spanish, in every which language you could think of, and more, and many, many more. It was sung in Yiddish as well. Steht auf für alle, wer will schlafen. Arise, you, those of you who were slaves.
En la Internacional.
At least through the 20s, anarchists, socialists, and communists, and perhaps other trade unionists simply sang the International. But at some point, motion picture newsreels, and then ultimately television, began to show Red Army parades in Moscow. Somehow in my mind, the International lost its early association of a general radical song and somehow became a Soviet song. And for people who reveled in the tanks in Red Square and the mausoleum and Lenin's tomb and the scowling Stalin, the great father, I'm sure that the International was very stirring. But for non-communists, the International began to pick up a pejorative overtone.
One trouble with making something official, I think it's worse than banning it,
it tends to cramp its style. It was sung briskly first, then they slowed it down to make it ponderous. Pum, pa, pum, pum, pa, pum, pump. Becomes very much an establishment kind of a song.
Well, I remember once I was at a Central Committee meeting of the Communist Party, and someone brought in a Jamaican reggae-ized version of the Communist International, with all the beats, with a little Bob Marley, with a little Jimmy Cliff, and so forth.
Arise, you toilers of all nations, condemned to misery and woe.
And I, quite frankly, dug it. But I can remember some of the comrades, some of the older comrades, and just could not understand how this song could be bastardized.
There is considerable tension within the International based on a portion of the text. When Potier wrote the International, he used the lines, at least in French, roughly translated, "No more traditions, chains shall bind us." The notion was that working people, in breaking with capitalism or imperialism, would wipe the tablets clean. That is, would wipe away the superstitions of the past, the religions of the past, and as free men and women, would hail a new dawn, a red dawn. Well, interestingly, you cannot get your act together or function with any passion if you don't believe in certain traditions.
I have an ambivalent feeling about the words of the song. On one hand, I still remain as moved as I was when I was a youngster emotionally by hearing a stirring call to fight, to struggle, to challenge. On the other hand, there's a sentence in that song, "No more traditions, chains shall bind us," that I had a kind of ironic double take on, because I felt one of the problems with the movement was that precisely traditions, chains had bound us, and that all too often concepts were accepted, went unchallenged simply because it had always been accepted.
Arise, ye prisoners of starvation.
起来，全世界受苦的人。
Кипит наш разум возмущенный и в смертный бой вести готов.
עולם ישן עדי היסוד נחרימה.
Laya nating sinisiil.
El mundo va a cambiar de base.
You have been naught, you shall be all.
'Tis the final conflict.
Reprenons c'est demain international.
Shall be the human race. Boom, boom. That's my jazz too.
The words that this will be the last battle, the last war, something so many people have wished and has not come to life yet.